All right. I think I'm ready to go. I think. Oh my goodness. All right. Let me move this microphone just a little bit here. It's like I have all day to prepare. And then at the last minute I'm like, do I know what I'm doing here? Am I sure? Am I prepared to do the show tonight? I don't know. Hello everybody. This is Unfound Live for what is today? August 25th of 2025. So we got some 25s going on there. I hope everybody's doing well. I have a fantastic show planned for you tonight, as you can tell by the topics in the title for the show tonight, and I'll get to those in a moment. As you know, anything that is in the title of the show is guaranteed to be featured during that show. Everything else, it's just if I have the time. But yes, I have a fantastic show lined up for all of you tonight. I hope all of you are doing well wherever you are. And it's been a very ugly couple of days here in the Clearwater Beach area. This Monday has in fact been the ugliest of all of them. I've not been able to get out and throw the discs at all. So I've been doing a little bit of work here, doing some putting. I have my basket right over there, and I kind of go over there and putt. I can get about 20 feet, 23 feet, something like that within my condo. So I can practice on that because I'm going to need it this weekend because I have a tournament in Orlando. I'm going over there on Wednesday, but have not been able to go out and actually throw since when? Last Friday, maybe, because it's just been ugly. It just been ugly in the morning, and then ugly in the afternoon, then ugly in the evening. And in fact, that was yesterday or the day before. It was so ugly they had to shut down the Tampa airport for an hour. No planes could land or take off because it was coming down so hard. So haven't been able to get out there and practice. Maybe tomorrow. If not, we'll just have to go over there to Orlando on Wednesday and hope the weather is better over there. We'll just have to see. Of course, this is August, not totally crazy, but just wave after wave after wave. And none of it lasts that long. It's like 20 minutes, clears up. Then an hour later, another 20 minutes, clears up, another 20 minutes. It's just, it's not just like some huge thing that rolls through and then it's nice again. I don't know. So, it's the weeks go by so fast. The days go by so fast. Here we are toward the end of August. It seems like it was my birthday yesterday. Of course, it was not. And September is almost here. My brother Brian's birthday is coming up. His birthday is September 2nd. So let's see who is in here, and then I will carry on. Hello, everything. What's going on with you? Hello, Charlie. I texted back and forth with your mother today. I guess you and the boys are going to be there, coming in on Wednesday to Ohio. Hope you have a good time. Everything. Amy, good to see you. Lisa, what's going on? Michelle and Neighborly, what's going on with you? Good to see you. Mary Jane, good to see you. Good to see all of you. As you are watching tonight, please give this show a thumbs up. You know you want to, you know you need to, you know you wanna. So just do so. If you are watching, whether it's on Facebook or YouTube or I don't know, where else could you watch it? Those are the only two places that it's being streamed right now. But if you are listening to this as a podcast when it comes out the next day, every Tuesday, you can do that as well. Give this podcast a nice review, the Unfound Live podcast, a nice review on whatever platform you are using. It is available on all the platforms where the podcast that comes out every Friday plays. And if you'd like to support what we do here at Unfound, it's right there on the screen. Unfound, patreon.com/Unfound podcast. You can also go to paypal.me/Unfound podcast. That's bothering me. And this thing. And you can also hit the super chat button as the show goes on until 11 p.m. Eastern. Hello, Fishing. Hello, Alicia. What's going on with you in Tennessee? Good to see you. And you can also, how else can you support Unfound by? If you are watching on YouTube, you can hit the join button below and you will get some things that other people do not. The subscribe button, by the way, on YouTube is right down there in the right-hand corner. If you are not yet a subscriber to this channel, why you are not yet a subscriber, I have no idea. Yes, I'm going to Orlando on Wednesday. I will be over there until Monday. I'm playing in a tournament, and I have told myself no matter how poorly or well I play, I'm going to play all the rounds. I'm not going to leave early. I'm not going to do that. You know, if I have a bad round like Friday or Saturday stinks, I'm like, well, I'm going back. The heck with this. I've told myself, you need to play through it no matter how bad you are playing. You need to do that. So I've told myself I'm over there. I might as, I'm paying for it. I might as well be there. But I'm going over there on Wednesday to get some practice in. So I'll be there staying overnight. I have my place already reserved and everything. Right there on, it's not on International Drive. Actually, it's on Universal Drive. Right in the middle of the tourist trap. And hopefully I will get to do some touristy things while I'm over there and won't just hang out in my place like I do sometimes when I am over in Orlando. Usually, though, when I'm going over there, I'm getting Airbnbs that are somewhat away from all of that. But this time is going to be different. In fact, on Thursday night, I've already looked it up. There is trivia right down the street. And when I say right down the street, like within walking distance of where I'm staying, and I'm all excited about that. I will be going to trivia on Thursday night in Orlando by myself. So we'll see how I do. I will let you all know. Also might go check out the Wonderworks place over there while I'm there. Might do some miniature golfing. Yes, I'm going to be there by myself, but that doesn't stop me from going out usually and trying to do stuff. As long as it's nice. Now, of course, if it's raining, everything, I will play the tournament in the rain. I won't practice in the rain, but I've played tournaments in the rain. It's not that big of a deal. But of course, there's some things like miniature golf. You don't want to be doing that, in the rain. But some of these other things are indoors. So might check out karaoke. Am I going to sing? Just have to see. Not making any promises. And I hope I've already started on Friday's episode. So I might even have that done. I might finish it tomorrow. So I might not even have to do any of the podcast work over there. Although still we have an Unfound now and a Found episode that I have to do that I'll have to work on while I'm over there. But I'm going to be over there. I'm going to leave Wednesday morning. As long as it's nice, I'm going to go over there, try to hit one of the courses and play, and then do my food shopping. And because I do have a refrigerator where I'm staying, and so I'll get food. Hopefully I won't have to eat out too much. Keep the cost down at least a little bit. And then I'll go to my place that I've reserved And we'll just have to see where the weather is like Wednesday evening. And Thursday, I plan to go play a little bit as long as it's nice, practice a little bit. Friday, same thing. And then Saturday, it begins. Only one round every day. Tee times. And I don't know what my tee time is yet. I probably won't know that until Thursday or something. So I'm going to have a lot of time when I'm not playing. I don't think any of these rounds should take more than 3 hours. So you get over there maybe an hour before, warmed up and everything. You play, maybe I'm back in a half hour. So it's like only a total of like 4.5 hours per day. So, but it's far enough away that I can't, of course, commute. So that's why I have to stay over there. And it's a big tournament. There's going to like 200 some players, multiple courses. I'm going to play a different course every day, 3 different courses every day, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I should be back here next Monday evening in time for the next live show next Monday, which will be Labor Day. So that's what's going on with me going over to Orlando. Looking forward to it. Getting out of here for a few days. And so that's what's going on. Moving on, how many of you checked out my cooking show? Did you? It was something that I just did spur of the moment. I got to be honest. I was sitting here on Saturday, couldn't go out and throw because it was ugly, very dark out there. And I had those chicken wings that I had already cooked once and then put them in the plastic bags and froze them. And I was like, maybe this is the day because I've been wanting to do that. I've talked about it so much. As I stated, I was joking about it. Then I started talking about it. Then I finally did it. And I thought it went really well. There weren't any edits. It was just me turning on the camera, doing whatever I had to do, turning the camera off, then turning it back on, doing whatever I had to do. And I think it ended up being like 31 minutes. And I thought it came out really well. It's not publicly available. It's still unlisted on the Unfound site. And all I did was post the link on Facebook for everybody so they could go check it out. I hope if any of you follow my recommendations, my instructions, the recipe, I guess you could say, for cooking wings like I do on the video, please let me know how it all came out. Those wings came out fantastically. What you saw me doing there, and then I had that I ate at least part of a wing before the video ended. They came out really good. It's something about cooking them, then freezing them, then cooking them again for those 5 minutes. Just something about that just really just adds that little bit more, and it was good. It was all good, and I enjoyed that. I had fun doing it. I guess there were a few jokes in there for people to enjoy as well. But I really hope if you try that, what I did. But I remind them to say it again. Remember, if you're cooking them from being raw, you got to cook them for like 15 to 18 minutes. Everything is the same as you saw in the video, except it's not 5 minutes of cooking. It's 18 minutes that I usually do. So just remember that you're going to be like 5 minutes. These things, they're still raw. Yeah, I know. But if you cook them once for 18 minutes and you want to freeze them, when you bring them back out, all you have to do is throw them in the hot oil for 5 minutes and they're done. So fantastic. Of course, the time is taken up by the wings the oil taking so long to heat up. It actually takes the oil longer to heat up than it actually does to cook the wings. So there's that. But I enjoyed that. Don't expect me to do any cooking because really have nothing else to really add to the conversation in the realms of cooking. So you'll just have to delight in that one. Mary Lee, thank you so much. You are generous. Which Mary Lee has done is hit the super chat button. You see Mary Lee all highlighted in orange there in the chat. Mary Lee, thank you. Mary Lee, thank you very much. You're very kind. Thank you. Hello, Chad. You rock too, Chad. I see you. And Stephanie, thank you. Karen from Toronto. You know, Toronto, Karen, is where my voice coach, the woman that I see once a week over Zoom, that's where she's from. And that's where she's in Orlando, or she's in Toronto. I'm here, or Toronto, and I'm here in Clearwater Beach for these Fridays, although I'm not going to be seeing her now for a couple weeks now. But yes, she is Canadian. My voice coach is Canadian. How about that? So good to see you, Karen. And once again, Mary Lee, thank you so much. You are very generous. D, what's going on? How are you? I see you, D. Good to see you tonight. What else is going on? Trivia. This past Wednesday was the only time I played this past week. We came in second place, and that just had to be good enough. Maybe, probably not. Just there were a couple questions that tripped us up, and we knew the final question, so that was nice. And we came in second place, which will be nice for everybody that goes this coming Wednesday. I won't be there, but now a table is reserved, so nobody has to show up at 4:30 to, reserve the table. Everybody can show up at like 6, and it doesn't start until 7. As you already know, I won't be there. I will be going, I will be in Orlando playing trivia instead on Thursday. So once again, thank you, Mary Lee. Hello, D. D. So we got a D, and then we got a DD. Hello to you, DD. Good to see you. Mary Jane, you are generous. Thank you. You're welcome. Pleasure to do this live show. We're coming up on 8 years, I think, of doing this live show. We started it a little over a year after the podcast started, Mary Jane. Thank you so much. You're very generous. And Lisa's saying hi to D. So those are some things that have gone on since we all got together the last time. Talked to my dad last couple days. He's doing well. Football season is here for his Slippery Rock team. So he's been going up there trying to catch them practicing, but no luck as of yet. So I'm not sure. Surely we got to wait. They don't start until September 5th or something. So he keeps going up there. I'm sure he'll catch them practicing, and he'll sit in the stands and watch. You know, he's all into that. In other news, my brother Brian and his wife Laureen, he sent me pictures from Devil's Tower. Everybody knows Devil's Tower from Close Encounters of the Third Kind. They stopped there, and he sent me some pictures. And today they were at Mount Rushmore, so I got some pictures from there. They're slowly working their way over to Ohio. I guess, Charlie, they're going to be seeing all of you. Maybe you'll go for a ride in the RV, Charlie and the boys. And Charlie, maybe Brian will let you even drive that thing if you wanna. And Derek, hello. What's just joining the live feed? What's going on, Derek? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in tonight. So that's about it. As far as everything that's gone on, time continues to fly by so fast. It is crazy. All right, so let's get into the agenda for tonight. By the way, I know that I don't post this as much as I used to, but if there are any questions that you would like to ask me about the podcast, about anything, as long as it's not too personal, as long as it's PG rated, anything that's on your mind that you've ever wanted to ask me, I will do my best to answer it. And, to the best of my abilities. Like I said, I have final say on whether I have to answer it or not. depending on what the question is. You got to keep it PG and not too personal. So if there's anything on your mind tonight, now is the time. So let's get right into this. And I'm just going to go right to the first item in the title of tonight's live show. And that is the disappearance of Heather Teague, Teague. Probably, I know many of you are very schooled true crime people, and the name is certainly familiar to you. And this is a unique disappearance in that this disappearance was seemingly seen by somebody, but it was somebody who was far away at that moment. Hers is a disappearance where she went out to a beach along the Mississippi River. And someone across the river, I'm going to get into all of this in a moment. And somebody had a telescope on the other side of the river and actually allegedly saw her abducted. Is it all coming back to you now? Some of you, maybe you were saying, oh, now I know. Yeah, that's where I know it from. This is the disappearance that I am going to take a look at tonight. DD asked, will I sing for you? Not ready to do that, DD, yet. I know what you're saying. Well, you've been practicing for 2.5 years. DD, I get it. Just not. When I am going to sing for all of you, I want to make sure that I sing really, really, really well. And I'm just not there yet, to be honest. But I promise you this. I will make this promise. If I go over to Orlando and I go to karaoke and I decide to sing a song, I promise you I will get it on video and I will make it public. All right? I know that's a lot of ifs, maybes, possibilities and everything, but I promise I will get that done. All right, but not going to sing for you tonight, DD. I know you had to ask. I appreciate it. I respect the question, but not being picky, but it was the Ohio River. Thank you, Rockford. All right. Okay, let's, being that I've done enough off the top of my head, Rockford, let's get right to this. I'm going to read part of the page on the Charlie Project. And then I'm going to kind of skim over a couple articles that were written about Heather's disappearance. And some of these things were clarifying to me, but then some of the other points, I think, just add some murkiness to this. Let's get into this. Heather Teague was sunbathing at Newburgh Beach in Henderson County, Kentucky on August 26, 1995. Coincidentally, it will be the 30th anniversary tomorrow. It's not how I planned it. That's just how it worked out, strangely enough. A witness was observing the bench area through a telescope from across the Ohio River at approximately 12:45 p.m. The witness told authorities that he saw a Caucasian man approach Teague at that time. And we're going to get to why was the person on a telescope, because I really didn't know this until I started reading this, started putting this information together yesterday. The abductor allegedly grabbed Teague by the hair and dragged her off into the woods of Newburgh Beach at gunpoint. The abductor was approximately 6 feet tall and weighed 210 to 230 pounds. He had brown hair and a bushy brown beard. He was wearing jeans and did not have a shirt on. He was also reportedly to be wearing a wig and a mosquito net at the time he abducted Teague. Drippy says, I presume he was getting on perving on beachgoers. Drippy, actually, he was not. That's what's so interesting about this. That's what I always thought. That is not what was going on here. He might have been doing that, but that was not the reason that this witness had a telescope. I'm going to get to it. Be patient. Authorities searched the Newburgh Beach area later in the day and discovered part of Teague's bathing suit near the alleged abduction site. Additional evidence was also located, but nothing investigators found could lead them to Teague's whereabouts. She's never seen again. Marvin Ray Marty Dill, D-I-L-L, a resident of Henderson County, Kentucky, was pulled over in a routine traffic stop after Teague's disappearance. He drove a red and white Ford Bronco, which was identical to a vehicle a witness reported was parked next to Teague's car on Newburgh Beach. I'm going to get into that. That's not exactly what happened. A photograph of him is posted with this case summary. Authorities discovered a hair resembling Teague's, 2 guns, 2 knives, duct tape, rubber gloves, and a rope in Dill's vehicle at the time of his traffic stop. The truck had bloodstains on the inside tailgate. I mean, right about now, you're saying, well, this should be an open and shut case. It wasn't. Deal also strongly resembled the composite sketch made of Teague's abductor. Investigators received several tips connecting Deal to Teague's case in August of 1995, so later that month, and arrived at his home to question him. Dill reportedly told his wife to leave the residence after becoming alerted to law enforcement's presence. He then committed suicide by shooting himself before officers could enter his home. Prosecutors compiled available evidence against Dill after his death and brought the information before a grand jury. His wife was called as a witness during the grand jury phase, but she invoked her Fifth Amendment rights and refused to answer any questions about Teague's abduction. And so, of course, you have to remember at this point, this is still unsolved 30 years later. She has never been found. It doesn't seem like the wife was ever questioned again after this. This is still an open investigation 30 years later, despite everything that I just read, if you can believe it. Now, you should also know, and I'm going to read a little bit more, that even to this day, Heather's mother has been trying to sue local law enforcement because of all of this. And in fact, you will find news articles from this very year where she is still trying to sue them, or whatever words you want to use, because she believes that many mistakes were made in this investigation. And you got to admit, at least on the surface, I will just read these things again, and I believe Megan writing this page, although there are some inaccuracies here, I wouldn't say they're so drastic as to, say that things are wrong. But, I mean, a hair resembling Teague's, 2 guns, 2 knives, duct tape, rubber gloves, and rope in Dill's vehicle at the time of this traffic stop. And the truck also had bloodstains on the inside tailgate. And seemingly, the forensics were not enough to ever charge him with anything. And, of course, he committed suicide. But even after the suicide, they didn't come out and say, we have enough evidence to think that Marvin Ray Marty Dill did this. Now, one of the reasons is that another suspect popped up on police radar. His name is Christopher Belo, B-E-L, like below, but I think it's Belo is how he pronounced it. B-E-L instead of above, below. It's Belo, B-E-L-O-W, a native of Henderson. A photograph of him is posted on the Charlie Project page. He pled guilty to attempted involuntary manslaughter in connection with the 1991 death of Catherine Fetzer and is serving a prison sentence of 11 to 18 years for the crime. Fetzer's body has never been found, but Belo confessed to shooting her and pleaded guilty to attempted involuntary manslaughter. He's also considered a possible suspect in the disappearances of Mary Kushto, Shailene Farrell, and Christina Porco, P-O-R-C-O. Investigators believe Belo may have attacked other women who physically resembled Fetzer. Both Teague and Fetzer had long dark hair and were about 5 foot and 100 pounds, very little women. Belo was known to be in the general area when Tig was abducted, but shortly after her disappearance on the same day Dill committed suicide, Belo left Kentucky. He, Dill, and Tig share some acquaintances, so they seemingly all from the area know some of the same people. Although the witness to Teague's abduction consistently identified Dill and not Bilo as the kidnapper, authorities believe they have circumstantial evidence to tie Bilo to the crime despite all of that other evidence having to do with Dill, D-I-L-L. It's very confusing. Authorities also believe Bilo and Dill may have done this together. Perhaps one grabbed Teague and the other one drove the getaway car. Bilo has not been charged in connection with Teague's case. However, due to a lack of conclusive evidence, he hasn't been charged due to a lack of conclusive evidence linking him to the crime. And ever since then, as it says here at the bottom, in 2013, Heather Teague's mother filed a lawsuit against local, state, and federal authorities in connection with her daughter's abduction, alleging malfeasance and a cover-up. Her mother claims law enforcement focused on the wrong suspect in Teague's kidnapping and failed to follow up on leads that would have led the investigation elsewhere. The litigation is pending. That litigation continues to this day in 2025. So now I'm going to read to you, if I can find them on this computer, a couple of articles that go through some of this in deeper detail. And hello, Marty. Hello, Marty. Marty and I had a texting earlier this evening. Hello, Marty. Good to see you. So where I want to start with these articles, and I'm using my new computer, and hopefully I can find where they are. Just bear with me for a moment. Let's see. I know it's so weird, but this is let's see, it's here. Let's see. They are not there. This does not look good. Let me see if I can find these just for a minute. Come on now. See, what's confusing to me is that these Chromebook computers do not necessarily have what we would normally understand to be hard drives. Here's the downloads. All right, here we go. All right. This is from the Evansville Press of August of 1995. And it's from the Evansville Press, and I will read this article to you. Family stays near phone, holding out hope. And I'm going to have to blow this up. All right. So while police search the beach where Heather Teague was allegedly abducted, her family waits by the phone. We don't want to leave the phone. The waiting is the hardest. Rhonda Teague, Heather's stepmother of Clay, Kentucky, said, "You always see this on the news. It always happens to other people. You don't know how bad it is until it happens to you." Teague, 23, reportedly was taken at gunpoint from a beach in Henderson County, Kentucky, across from Newburgh, Indiana, Saturday afternoon. A witness, so getting back to wondering about this, a witness who was watching the beach with a telescope from the Indiana side told police he saw a man walk out of the woods and grab her by the hair, as was already read from the Charlie Project site. The beach is called Newburgh Beach, but is on the Kentucky side of the Ohio River in the area around the lock and dam. I've actually pulled this up. A farmer's so you were wondering, is this guy just a perv, as somebody said? Not true. Here's what was going on with this person with the telescope. Farmers living in the area around the beach recently had hired a photographer to videotape cars entering and leaving the beach because of the damage the motorists at the beach were doing to nearby cornfields. On Saturday, one of these videographers filmed Heather Teague as she drove her car onto the beach and exited the vehicle to sunbathe. The same day, the photographer, mistakenly thinking he had turned off the camera, laid it on his car's dashboard. It continued to record cars in the area from across the river. That's how this all happened. And I will continue. This is an article from August 30th. And that is what caught the Bronco on film. And this is before they were able to track down Marty Deal. So that's how they knew about this Bronco. It was caught on video by accident. So at this point that this article was written, he had not been tracked down. And what they go on to say is Abel was asking anyone with information concerning the alleged abduction to come forward. As of now, only the man with the telescope is providing any visual description of the event. Although police believe it is unlikely, no one else on the crowded beach saw the event take place. Someone else down there on the beach we feel is a witness. And this is something else that I discovered by reading these articles, because once again, I knew about it, knew the generalities. She was not the only person on the beach that day. She was not out there on this beach, which I heard is about 500 feet long. So let's just say a couple football fields to be generally accurate. She got abducted, allegedly, while other people were on that beach. Now, see, to me, this was shocking. Finding out about why this person was using the telescope was shocking to me. And now finding out that this was not some, she just picked this little out-of-the-way place where nobody was. Seemingly, she was abducted from the beach where other people had also parked and gone out to this beach that was along the Ohio River. So from this, I guess from this video, track down this Bronco. We now know, as I've already read, Marty Deal was questioned. He had those items in his vehicle. He had been suspected of cruising around, maybe trying to pick up children and things. But I did not read any, a little kids like that, but I did not hear anything about him attempting to abduct allegedly any women, any actual adult women. So we have to keep that in mind. So I just want to add some of these things. Of course, like some people have already stated in the chat, well, he was using that video camera, the telescope, to ogle girls on the beach. Well, maybe he was, but seemingly, I guess the police verified that local farmers wanted that piece, that area watched because of damage that was getting done by the beachgoers. Because if you look at this, and I did look at this area from Google Maps, of course, it's 30 years later, Google Satellite View. And there are, of course, 30 years later, maybe it's different now, but there are fields there. And it doesn't look like there's a lot of parking. And so I guess they wanted to see who was doing damage, who was pulling in there. And they were secretly doing this by farmers going over to people who lived on the other side of the river and paying them to keep an eye on what those people were doing. Sounds crazy. And normally I would reject something like that. But it's right there. And so I have no reason to doubt it now. If somebody just told me this, I was like, well, that sounds crazy. But it's right there. And it seems to be now accepted. And I'll get to your comments here in a moment. The other thing that is shocking to me, before I get into my own analysis, is that this was not a situation where she was just out there by herself. And I'm going to look into that. I'm going to analyze that a little bit more, because you have to be wondering, how could she be abducted from the beach by her hair? Wouldn't have somebody noticed that, you'd think. I'm going to get into that. All right, now I will Hello, Marty. Everybody's saying hi to Marty. Chromebooks are cut down laptop like a netbook for long battery life. Thank you, everything. Luckily, I did find the article. Drippy, I bought a Chromebook, but haven't got around to using it. You should, Drippy. If you're going to buy it, might as well use it. Drippy says, okay, fine. I'm just reading what the article says. If you want to doubt what's in the article, perfectly fine to do that. I'm not telling you what to believe. Everything says Chromebooks are good machines, but just low power and lots of software cut down as well. Drippy says, but his job was to take videos like of a van down by the river. Yeah. D says, that's not a crime. That's true. Rockford says, based on the two suspects identified and the reason the guy was using the telescope, I think it's fair to say this beach is not attracting the finest citizens. Could be. But D is believing it. All right, Neighborly, you may be going to mention this, but the body of Marty Dill was just exhumed earlier today by Kentucky State Police for DNA testing. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. This litigation and everything is continuing to this day regarding her disappearance. And I remind you, it's unsolved. Her body's not been found. I don't necessarily say it's cold. Obviously, they're working on it, but it's an unsolved disappearance. It's fair to believe that Heather was murdered, but it's an unsolved disappearance at this point. Despite all of the forensics and everything they had, it's hard to understand. I understand why her mother is up in arms and everything. Not sure what went on there. So let's take a look now at my analysis. And you should say I really, I wouldn't say went out of my way to try to check some of these things. Now, you should know conveniently, I have a telescope. It's sitting right beside me. It's a very entry-level telescope. It's not hundreds or thousands of dollars or anything out, but I have had it. I would say I've had it, I don't know, a year or something like that. What kind of telescope was being used back in 1995? I don't know. I don't know if the farmers bought these telescopes or a telescope for this person to use. I don't know if this person had a telescope and just happened to have one. I don't know. I'm going to guess that these people or person was hired and then the farmer provided the telescope. And I'm going to guess that that telescope was not the highest end of telescope. I'm going to guess it's very similar to the one I have here. And I'm not so sure that the technology in telescopes has changed that much over 30 years that, things are that different in contrast to computers or something like that. So what I did was I really went all out for this. I got on Google satellite view and I measured the distance from the beach across the Ohio River to some of the, what we might say, the closest homes or whatever they are across the river. And it came out to, let's just say, about 2,500 feet. If you're wondering how far that is, it's just short of a half mile. From the beach to some of the nearest homes, and I don't even know if it was like the nearest homes across the water. It very well could have been one farther away. But let's just say that it's about 2,500 feet. Not close, but not overtly far either. So what did I do? I took my telescope. I took it out onto not my balcony here from my condo, but the balcony out here by the elevators. And some of you know that I've done videos out there. I've taken pictures out there. If you look out, you can see Clearwater. You can see the big Scientology building and all that over there. I went out to that side of the building. And before I did that, though, I did Google satellite view from my own area right here and measured out what 2,500 feet would be. So using my telescope, I took it out here. I pointed it up the street, up North Gulf Boulevard, and focused in on what would have been approximately 2,500 feet away. Can I do that with my telescope? I can. And it's a high quality image. And I know how to use this telescope fairly well. I'm certainly not an expert. I look at planes as they're coming in. I look at the moon. I look at boats. I live here near the beach, so you can just put that out there too. Maybe, I'll just leave it at that. I am a guy, by the way. So there's that. So I've used my telescope for a whole bunch of different reasons. I've taken it out here, and when we had the Clearwater ferry accident from a few months ago, I had it out there looking up at seeing what they were doing up there from a few months ago, because you could see it from down here. Use my telescope for a bunch of different things. I know how to use it. You can get a really good image. So I put myself in the position of this videographer from 1995. And I have to tell you, it's a little hard to understand how events happened the way they have been described. I'm not saying it's impossible, but we have to remember certain things about using a telescope at that distance. Is that you get a great image, but your image is very limited. It's not like when you are zoomed in and everything is focused, that you have you can see 100 feet in each direction. You can't. And in fact, when you get it zoomed in and it's clear, the area across that you can view at that range is maybe 30 feet or something. And now, of course, the further you go, of course, then, if you're looking at 5,000 feet away, then it's wider. But you have to remember, when you're looking at something that's 2,500 feet away and it's zoomed in and the image is clear, it's not like you have this huge panoramic view of everything that is 2,500 feet away. It's no different than kind of using, if you've ever used one, a scope on a rifle. And I have, of course, some experience in that area. It's not that small, but it's kind of like that. Whereas you're looking through a rifle, it's 100 yards away, you're looking through the scope, and you see it's very clear, but it's a very small spot. Kind of the same thing with this telescope, and I'm going to say that would be with any regular telescope. So I also, though, did kind of a practice looking with my naked eye, going back into the telescope, looking at naked eye, looking in the telescope, looking at pedestrians, and there weren't many, up the street. So pretending like it's a beach 2,500 feet away. What can I see with my naked eye? And then looking in the telescope. And you can start, my eyesight is pretty good. I don't wear glasses to read. At 55, my eyesight's still pretty good. At 2,500 feet, you can certainly see people. And if you were to ask me at 2,500 feet, if I'm looking up the street with my naked eye, would I be able to tell that a woman was getting attacked and drug away? Probably yes. But I would think that I would really, really, really have to be looking for it. Now, the advantage that this person looking across the river would be it's all wide open. I don't have that here. There's palm trees, there's cars, there's other buildings, there's signs, there's light posts, everything in the way out to 2,500 feet. But if you were to say, would I be able to tell that with the naked eye? Yes, but I would absolutely have to be looking at that in that moment. So I got to believe now. I put myself in the position of this videographer looking across the river, 2,500 feet, just sitting there with the naked eye. would he, I guess it's a he, maybe it was a she, I don't know. I don't think they've ever released this person's name, or maybe they released the gender, but I don't know if they've ever released an actual name. If he is just sitting there, would he be able to see 2,500 feet away with decent eyesight and be able to say, hey, something doesn't look right over there? Yes. The problem, though, as I've learned myself, is when you start to have to move that telescope to get into position to actually find whatever is going out there. And I could even use just like a boat. Boat's 2,500 feet out in the water. I see it with the naked eye. Oh, I want to zoom in on it for maybe it's a yacht or something out there. I want to zoom in on it. It takes a few seconds to find it. And then, of course, then you have to get everything, sharp image and everything else. That takes a little bit of time, even for someone who's fairly skilled at using his telescope, because I've had it for a while and I've used it. So what we have to imagine is that attacker comes out of the woods or whatever, goes over to Heather. This guy sees, man, that something doesn't look right over there. The attacker, whoever it is, grabs her by the hair, starts dragging her away. And then this guy gets in his telescope, starts fiddling it, and finally is able to find this guy taking Heather away before they vanish into the bushes or something. It seems unlikely given what I can tell about the location. Now, granted, I'm looking at a satellite view that's from now, not back then. It very well may be that the beach was bigger or smaller. It might be overgrown since then, or I don't know. But in current conditions, if you're telling me that somebody sitting there on a lawn chair sees something that doesn't look right, goes into their telescope and starts fiddling, hey, I got to get this in focus. I got to swivel it to the left or up or down or whatever I got to do to get the image correct. That takes a little time, especially if you're probably nervous because you think a crime's being committed. And then on top of everything else, you're able to see that he's white, he's wearing jeans, he's not wearing a shirt, he's wearing something on his head, he's wearing a wig, yada, yada, yada. It seems unlikely. I'm not saying it's impossible. But I'm also reminded, how long was this person doing this job for the farmers? If this person had been doing the job for months, then I guess, well, he's probably skilled at zooming in and zooming out and moving it this way, moving it out that way. Because remember, he's not being asked to, zoom in and move it around. He's just required to look through there and to see what's going on just once in a while. It's not like he's a cameraman at a NASCAR race where it's, man, I got to keep it in focus. These cars are moving 200 miles an hour, zoom by, and I got to, zoom and work in the zoom and the swivel and everything else. Certainly not that skilled. So this is a big question mark in my mind, having tested it myself, even though I've never been to this area. Because to believe that this all happened, this would then mean that this guy with Heather was in view of this guy with a telescope for an extended period of time. Now, what do I mean by extended? 20 seconds. And we have to remember, they've already admitted there were other people on the beach. And I'll get to that in a moment. So I'm asking you, did some guy really, really, really decide to go on the beach, knowing other bathers were there, some people swimming and doing whatever else? Now, she might have been off by herself. But how would he know that beforehand? Unless he had gone onto the beach and seen her and then came back. Maybe that's what happened. Maybe Marty Dill or one of these guys was down there on the beach, saw her lying by herself, went back, got the wig, got the stocking to put over the face, went back down there and abducted her. Possible. I guess it's possible. Could be. But still, if this person, let's say it was Marty Dill, was out on the beach, he would also then know other people were there and still decided to attack Heather. And remember, Heather was 23 years old. She wasn't like an 8-year-old where you can just, scoop an 8-year-old up and start running. He had to expect that she would put up a fight, would scream and everything. And remember, she was being dragged by her hair, meaning she was not hugged up and he didn't have his hand over her face. According to the witness, she was being dragged by her hair. And being that I have long hair, I can really visualize that. If you're dragging somebody by the hair, you're not covering the person's mouth. Whereas if he goes up, gives her a bear hug, picks her up, and drags her away and has one hand around her chest and one hand on her throat so she can't scream, then that makes sense. That's not what the witness said. So are we then saying that Heather didn't yell or scream or anything to let other people know that she was being attacked? It's hard to understand. It's hard to understand. So these are some observations. Let me just see what everybody is saying so far. Drippy says, you can probably hook your telescope up to a smartphone, though, and zoom on top of using the scope. I've done that, Drippy. You can, but you couldn't do that in 1995. You couldn't do that. I'm trying to recreate 1995. I'm not trying to see what works here in 2025. I'm trying to put myself in the position of somebody in 1995, realizing that I don't know what kind of telescope that person had. All I know is they didn't have cell phones in 1995 or anything that they could have hooked up to do that. I mean, so remember that. Everything, unless he had a powerful telescope at that time, maybe, I don't think the power of the telescope, everything would matter that much. I don't think they would give a better range. The only thing a more powerful telescope is going to do is be able to zoom in for things that are a lot farther away. Every telescope can make something clear and precise at 2,500 feet. You have to remember, telescopes are being used to look at the moon and stars and all other things. In contrast to only 2,500 feet away, you don't need something really high powered to get a good image. Like I said, the telescope that I have is not expensive. I got it off Amazon. It's like the entry level one. What was it, $100 or something? So we have to keep that in mind. And I also have to wonder if the farmer or farmers bought these telescopes, so they're going to go out and get some $5,000 job that, can pinpoint something on the moon. Probably not. What was his elevation compared to yours? I don't know, Rockford. It's hard for me to tell. Of course, they're almost at water level. What the elevation is on the other side of the river, I don't know. Expensive. Yeah, true. See, so certainly an expensive telescope is going to get you a better image, clear image. You can really zoom on things like miles away, but we're only talking 2,500 feet, like a half mile, which for telescopes is not far. Now for binoculars, being that I have binoculars as well, depends on the binoculars. It's kind of the same problem that, you don't have this. So it's, what I'm trying to say is, let's just say this guy was ogling Heather Teague. Let's just say, and he's zooming in on her. Wow. Look at that, man. I'm really happy that the farmers hired me to do this job. Doing that would not allow that person to see the attacker coming in. The attacker would just appear in frame out of nowhere. grab Heather, start dragging her away, and then the telescope user, the telescoper, would then still have to track it. And I can tell you, that's not easy, tracking something at 2,500 feet away, because you have to remember, you have to move it just so slightly, fractions of a degree. They may be running at 10 miles an hour, but you're so far away, you're just barely moving that. It's not easy to do. It's very easy to make big movements. So there's something about all of this. I know I really went all out tonight. There's something about all of this that doesn't totally ring true, unless this telescope person was an expert and just happened to do the right things at the right time. I'm just saying. And then on top of that, we have this complication that everybody admits, at least the witness says that she was dragged by her hair. I once again ask, if that's the case, then why didn't anybody hear her screaming? There were other people there. These are some things to think about. And I'll move on to this. The other thing that bothers me is that it's very clear in these news articles. Let me see if I can find it. That it's very clear to me that there's actual video of Heather getting out of her vehicle and going down to the beach. That's what this article says. Then how is it that there's no video of this attacker going down to the beach and getting out of his vehicle and going down to the beach? Once again, a little hard to understand the way that this has all been explained. I would also say this. The description was wearing a mosquito mask and wig. And we should note, neither of those items, despite all of these items found in Marty Dill's truck, a mosquito mask and a wig were not two of those items. Not. And I'm sure that police, even though Marty ended up committing suicide, they surely had enough to get a warrant to go through his house. Not found. The question I would have, though, once again, going back to the telescope issue, is that at 2,500 feet, would I be able to tell that an attacker was wearing a mosquito mask and a wig? Once again, maybe. But how would he really know that it's a wig and not real hair? And we know mosquito mask. If you don't know what a mosquito mask is, you've probably seen it. Beekeepers might use them or something. It's just like a netting. It's not, I guess they call it a mask, but you can still see the person's face through the netting. It's just, of course, to keep mosquitoes out. That seems like an odd choice to use if you want to hide your face from people, when everybody knows you can look through a mosquito mask anyway. It's not like a hockey mask. It's not like a, Halloween mask. It's not a Batman mask or anything. It's a mosquito mask, which is essentially nothing but netting. Maybe we might think of, like, you've seen beds in certain locations of the earth where mosquitoes are really bad. What do they have? At night, you get into the bed and then you drop down this netting all around. You can see right through the netting. You can tell who's behind the netting. It's just that mosquitoes can't get through the netting. That's the only concern. Nobody's trying to hide in there. So you're telling me that somebody wore a mosquito mask to attack Heather, even though if she survived, she would have been able to look right through that mask and identify who it was. Seems unlikely. This kind of goes back to, the Zodiac killer and what they determine, the getup, with the Zodiac sign on the front and the mask and everything. They figured out that he only wore that mask and that getup for himself because surely he planned to kill those two teens out at Lake Berryessa. But it was the one guy who survived that was able to identify the Zodiac killer. Surely the killer meant to kill those two. So he really was only dressing up for himself. I kind of feel the same way regarding Heather Teague. Why would somebody wear a mask if you're going to kill her anyway? And why would you wear a mask that doesn't hide your face? And why would you wear a wig when the way I think about a mosquito mask is it's like a hat with the mosquito mask attached to it? Did the person wear the wig under the hat? It's all very confusing. I just don't know what to think about this. And like I said, I've tested this. It's not impossible. It's just there's something about this that is not lining up. And in fact, I've been so motivated. Her mother's out there. I've never talked to her. I've never attempted to contact anybody in Heather Teague's family. Maybe it's about time I do that. Maybe. Especially since things are going on right now. What also sticks out to me is the forensics. Marty Deal seemingly has to be the stupidest criminal out there. If he did this, he just never cleaned up anything? Even if it's not her blood, maybe it was a deer that he killed or something. I don't know. He didn't clean anything up. If it's hard to understand. The forensics have gone nowhere. The suicide, are we sure? I have it written here. Are we sure the suicide didn't happen because of the other crimes he was already suspected of committing and not because he did anything to Heather? Because he was already suspected of cruising around trying to pick up little girls. Are we sure that he didn't commit suicide because he thought the police were coming after him for that and not because of Heather? Are we sure that his wife is keeping her mouth shut because of what she knew he was trying to do with little girls and not because of Heather Teague going missing? Because it seems to me, perception. He's dead. Why are you pleading the fifth? I mean, if he did something to Heather, did she have something to do with it as well? I guess we might have to be open to that. So like I said, I did this telescope test and really I came away with way more question marks about how this actually all went down than I had before. And as some of you have already stated, I was of the same opinion. Oh, this is some ogler, somebody creeping around in the woods, across, and draws this person's credibility into question. But then when you hear, oh, this person was hired to keep an eye on this, then it doesn't sound so crazy. But then you go back the other direction with what this story is. The story, I guess what I'm saying is the story sounds too exact. It sounds too precise given the distance, the location, and the description of what this person said happened. And as all of you already know, I get suspicious about things. When people tell stories that are so intricate, because we have to remember that we as humans are not good at, this type of stuff when it comes to car wrecks, things that happen that we don't expect. Now, maybe there's video of this. Maybe the telescope was hooked up to a video camera. If so, that's news to me. I've not read anywhere at any time that was it. That was a fact. What I've read is that there was video of her going out to the beach, parking her car, walking down to the beach, and then that red and white Bronco pulling in. I haven't heard anything about any videotape catching the actual abduction. And it's also curious that the video seems to show us everything but what we really want to know. Of course, if the video showed Marty Dill in disguise or not walking down to the beach, that would certainly seal things, wouldn't it? It doesn't. If it was this other guy whose last name is Below, B-E-L-O-W, if it showed him going down to the beach, that would certainly seal things, wouldn't it? It doesn't. And what do I say about sometimes things like this? It tells us everything but what we really want to know. And I think there is reason, at least the way that I understand this, that the eyewitness account should be doubted. The way I've read it, the way it's described on the Charlie Project, the way that it is described in this article, these articles that I found, there's just something about it that, and let me go to this again. Let me pull this up again. They got the Bronco on film, but didn't catch. It's not against the law for Marty Dill to be driving through the parking lot. That doesn't mean anything. There's just something about all of it that, of course, they got dogs involved, and the dogs can pick up Teague's scent on the beach area, but lose it when it gets to the edge of the woods. An indication Teague left in the area in a car, as dogs always. Seems like dogs always predict the same thing, and a lot of times they're wrong. The police are asking anyone with information concerning the alleged abduction to come forward. As of now, only the man with the telescope is providing any visual description of the event. Although police believe it is unlikely, no one else on the crowded beach saw the event take place. Someone else down there on the beach, we feel, is a witness. Seemingly no other witnesses came forward, even though the police think they should have. It's all very, very hard to understand. So let me go through this. Rockford, the security guard who allegedly saw Yelena Carisi jump in the Mississippi River comes to mind. I agree. It's questionable best. It is. It is. And maybe this is the reason that there was never an indictment against Marty Dill. I realize his wife pled the fifth, but it would seem that they would have had enough to at least make a public statement at some point over the last 30 years saying, you know what? Yes, he committed suicide, but here's the information we have, because we hear that all the time. Somebody died, and then DNA or something shows that this person killed somebody, and they come out and say, well, this person is dead now, but we're going to announce that we believe John Smith killed Jane Doe 30 years ago. None of that has been done. I don't know. It says in this article, her family continues to hope as they sit by the phone and wait. Like the old saying goes, it's not over till it's over. Rhonda Teague said, and of course, Rhonda Teague is the one now, all these years later, I think that continues and is as lawsuits and litigation and everything else. And like I said, I will continue to debate whether I want to contact her. I've kind of enough things going on regarding disappearances behind the scenes right now. It's enough. I don't know if I want to get mixed up another one. I'd love to make this an Unfound disappearance. I'd love to do an episode on it, but I'm wondering if this is almost too much at this point, that a lot of work at this point would have to be done to make it an episode, because we'd have to cover all these things. It very well may be that her family has had all of this stuff answered over the last 30 years. These explanations, these questions that I'm bringing up, I could find no evidence of that. All I found evidence was it got cleared up. Well, why was this person looking through a telescope anyway? Well, now we know. But it only brings up more questions. I, of course, thought that she was on that beach by herself. She wasn't. And so we have to start thinking, okay, some abductor pulled into the parking lot, saw her car there, saw all these other cars there, and still decided he was going to go down to the beach and abduct her. It's interesting. It seems unlikely. It just seems unlikely. And then, as I already stated, using a mask that really doesn't hide a person's face. Using a mask, I think, that comes with a hat anyway, but choosing to use a wig. Grabbing her by the hair, thus allowing her to scream and everything else to the other people that the attacker knows was on the beach. Not going up to her. And, I guess the more proper way to do this would have been, if you have a gun, go up to her and stick it in her back or something if she doesn't see you coming, and say you scream, you're dead. That's the way you do it. You don't drag her by her hair. Because she knows as soon as she gets dragged by her hair, it's going to be bad. You know what's going to happen. You might as well scream at that point, even if the person has a gun. Hard to understand. And once again, if the guy has a gun, why is he dragging her by her hair anyway? He should just quietly escort her away. Oh, baby. So that is my assessment of the disappearance of Heather Teague. I don't think it happened this way. I'm not saying the telescope guy did it, but this very well could be a circumstance where a witness gave false information because he thought he was being helpful. We know this happens all the time. Many cases, not just disappearances. And did he kind of get a little too creative with the mosquito net and the gun and everything else? Could it be that while looking through the telescope, yes, he saw a white and red Bronco pull in, and he saw a guy in the general description of Marty Dill, and then noticed that then Heather was gone, but maybe her towel's still there, other stuff is there, and she doesn't come back and say, oh, I think she got abducted, and then filled in the blanks. I wonder. I know not many posts. What is everybody thinking out there? Just don't sit there. I know Rockford and D have got in on this. Everything, Drippy, anybody else have any comments about any of this? I know some of you know this disappearance, probably have known about it for a while and have taken an interest in it. And I'm just wondering, has it ever occurred to you to doubt the official story about how Heather Teague was taken? Have you ever maybe tested, if you have your own telescope, have you ever tested it for yourself? I mean, luckily I had one. It was just like a no-brainer. I could do this very easily in a matter of minutes. I set the whole thing up. I have to admit, if I would have been in the same situation across that river, sitting there and looking over there with a naked eye and seeing something unusual, I don't know if I would have been able to capture as much information as this telescope person did. And because of that, I have to wonder if that's really, really, really the way it happened. So there you go. That's my coverage of the disappearance of Heather Teague. Still work being done to this day. As somebody already stated, they're going to dig up Marty Dill to test his DNA. Why they didn't keep it way back in the day. Of course, that would have been just at the advent of DNA, mid-90s. Rockford, her telescope guy, gave the information in an attempt to prove he was doing his job and monitoring the area. Yeah, maybe that's it. Rockford brings up a good point. Maybe the guy wasn't doing his job. Maybe the guy was getting paid to do something and wasn't doing it, and then lied. Very good, Rockford. Good one. Good one. But that's all I have to say for now. I will debate. I think that Heather's mother is very, very easy to find. She's doing a lot of media appearances. I don't know if, does she really want somebody coming in and questioning? I'm guessing this telescope stuff has been worked out, but I can't see any place where it has been or anybody is actually doubting what this telescope person says. So there you go. I'll think about it. If I do attempt to contact her, I'll let you know. I don't know if she gets back to me. I don't know if I'll be able to tell all of you what she said. But if I choose to reach out to her, I will let you know. All right, let's move on to some other things for tonight's. I guess no one can doubt, though, that Heather did go missing. The circumstances, to me, are very, very up in the air. And I think the official story needs to be reexamined, and maybe going after Marty Deal and dinging up his remains might be the wrong thing to do. All right, moving on. I have here the Martin family. This was an this was a found episode. Of course, anybody who is a Patreon and YouTube supporter knows about the found episodes. I did the Martin family a few months ago when we found out that a scuba diver had gone down and found their car. And what we're now finding out is that the car has now been pulled from the water, and I think the rest of the family has been found inside it. So back then, when they went missing, what was the 50s? I didn't write all of the information down here, but eventually a couple of the family members were found downriver, and they never did find the car or the rest of the family. And then much more recently, diver went down in that area, found the car, left, and now they've gone down and done official search, hooked up a chain to the car, pulled it out. And it seems that now all of the family members have been found after like 60 years or something like that. It's crazy. Now, to me, this is a disappearance that should have been solved fairly quickly. But you go back and you look at articles that were written at the time, and you even can find in a variety of blogs all over the internet regarding the Martin family, a lot of conjecture and a lot of sensationalism were around their disappearances, mainly along the lines of Mr. Martin killed the rest of his family, then took off. That did not happen. But this is I think, once again, if anybody wants to learn any lessons, really, really learn about disappearances, you have to learn from situations like this, that most of the time, the sensational theories are not the answers. Those do not usually end up being true. They just don't. They are on the fringes. What's clear to me, now I can't exactly say why it happened, but having done this found episode, and for all of these that don't know, you should be a Patreon supporter. You should be supporting Unfound on YouTube, and then you'd get to hear these episodes that I've been doing for a couple years now. That it's pretty clear that for some reason they stopped. They went out for this drive. They were on their way back. They stopped at this one particular scenic spot or whatever, and something happened. I mean, it might have been on purpose. Maybe Mr. Martin, who was probably driving, maybe lost his mind. They're sitting there, and he decides today's the day. It's a murder-suicide. He hits the gas and flies off the scenic point right into the river. They all drowned. Certainly possible. Of course, this has happened before. We know murder-suicides, parents and kids happening all the time. Very sad, horrible. But I also think that we have to look at maybe the technology of the time, the technology of cars at the time, and we have to be open to the idea, is it possible that they stopped there, and could the brakes have gone out? Could, he stopped there, put the thing in park, and they admired the view for a little bit, and then when he put it, went to hit the brakes to put it back into drive, he goes to put it into drive, the pedal goes to the floor, the car starts drifting forward. There, at least in the moment, he can't figure out how to, maybe he did try to hit the parking brake or something, and the car just drifts right into the water. Could have happened. I mean, we have to remember, forget his name now, but the actor, one of the actors that was in the reboot of Star Trek, the guy that played Chekhov, that's how he died. He was at his home, and it had a gate, and he was leaving his home. He got through the gate closed behind him. He stopped his vehicle on an incline. His driveway was on an incline, and he was leaving. He got out of the vehicle to go check his mail, and the mailbox is right beside the gate. And here he didn't have the car in park. And so he got out, walked around. The vehicle started drifting back, pinned him between his vehicle and the gate, suffocated him to death. You can look that up. So I could visualize something like that. Think it's in park, not in park. Car starts drifting. He doesn't realize it. And before they know it, they're going over into the river. And by that time, it's too late. Let's see here. D says, well, keep in mind, Kylie Rodney died in the same way, but she was too drunk. Name's familiar. That's about it, D. Thank you. Rockford, also have to remember there was not as many safety measures on roads and by water in these days. Yeah. Of course, these days, you'd have a guardrail there or something. Probably back when this happened 60 years ago, most likely not. And cars could just go off into the water. Why? People are thinking, well, that would never happen. Well, it does happen. And it has happened. And people to this day still drift into bodies of water or drive into them by my mistake. That's usually how it happens. It usually happens in areas where there's no barriers. So we just have to keep that in mind. Once again, for future reference, or even looking back at Unfounds, all the 370 some disappearances that have been featured so far, when we start hearing about sensational stories, most likely not true. And as we all know, I think we're all very versed in this type of disappearance now, if you've listened to enough Unfound episodes, to know that when people and their cars go missing, the people and the person or people and the car are usually going to be found together. And the longer it goes on, the more likely they will be found together, the exception, of course, being Eric Franks. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, and just for your own information, do a search for the Martin family and see what some people, all of the sensationalism that has been around their disappearance going back a very, very long time. And here they were in that river, all of them this whole time. Right there. People going to that spot, driving down that road, maybe boats on the water, driving, floating right over where they were the whole time. So, D says she was the young lady from Truckee, California. Just not really ringing a bell at this point, D, but I appreciate it. I have to look it up, or maybe you can send me a link or something. I appreciate it. All right, so that's the Martin family. It seemed that disappearance, you never give up hope. That's a disappearance that's over 60 years old. People should never give up hope. Good things have a good chance of happening anytime, no matter how bleak. Moving on, the Leo Wagner poll. It was funny last night in the think tank group. Man, the think tank group really loved the guest from Friday, Billy Wagner. They just thought he was. A couple people even said he is like in the top 5 unfound guests of all time. I have to say I was a little surprised by that. He is a good guy. None of you will ever know how much swearing, though, I had to take out of that episode. You'll never know. But that's just the way he is. He is not a profane guy. He is a personality. He's a funny guy. And I think his swearing is somewhat of a subconscious nature. It's like a nervous tick. He gets nervous and he starts dropping F-bombs. Not mean, not nasty, good-natured person. I think he just does it when he's nervous. But I had to mute it or cut them out or do whatever to make the episode PG rated. But the Wagner poll in the discussion group, most people decided that yes, Leo is in St. Mary Lake somewhere. It's a big lake, so it's hard to tell. I kind of agree with that, but I don't want to get so crazy with that idea as to say that land isn't worth searching. I think the land around the lake is still worth searching. I really believe that. Certainly, searching the lake would be easier than searching the land. Still, even though the lake is huge, still, you get some divers down there, you get sonar, you can still do that to this day. That's easier than sending people out into the woods around St. Mary Lake. But I still think it's worth it to look on land still. Some other things that are going on. Part 2 of my appearance on the Lost and Found blog with Heather Grotman is now out. It came out. Did it come out yesterday, today? I think it was yesterday. Part 1 came out a few days ago where she and I discussed the unusual death of Blair Adams. And then in part 2 that came out yesterday, you can find it on Spotify, iTunes, wherever. We discussed the unusual death of Cindy James in Canada, a woman who for 7 years claimed that people were doing things to her, calling her and harassing her and stalking her and setting fires and everything, and nobody could find any proof of any of it. And then she ended up dead in a yard somewhere, tied up, and she had legal drugs, but sedatives in her body. And the coroner eventually decided, at least at the time, that she died all on her own. And I'm not to ruin it for all of you, but I hope you listen to Heather's blog, my podcast with her. I think I agree with the coroner. I really do believe that Cindy James did that to herself. And you can hear in my talk with Heather why I believe that. Jean de Montebello, hi, back in Virginia from Switzerland. Well, heck, with like a name like Jean de Montebello, it sounds to me like you much more belong in Switzerland, Jean. But good to see you. Getting here a little late with a half hour to go. That's fine. You can catch it in the replay. Jean, thanks for checking in. Good to see you tonight. Some other items, being that we're getting toward the end of the month. Of course, the next Unfound Now will be coming out on YouTube. Be looking for that for all of you YouTube subscribers. I'm going to get that done while I'm over in Orlando. While I'm over there in Orlando at the place I'm staying. And then for all of you Patreon and YouTube supporters, you're due another Found episode, Disappearance to Discovery. I'll get that done while I'm over there. Have not picked out either one. I've not yet picked out an Unfound Now disappearance, and I've not picked out a found case either. Believe it or not, though, I usually can pick those out pretty quickly because I already have in my mind what I'm looking for. So I'll get those done. So be looking for those next Sunday, next Monday. Of course, we're coming up on Labor Day weekend. Another item of importance, the database that listener Kathy worked on 2/3 of it. I worked on the other 1/3 of it. All of it is finally done and is in the hands of the guy who is going to make it into a searchable database. What does that mean, you ask? Well, I picked out about 30 different criteria for each disappearance that Unfound is featured. And it's things that have never been charted before, like was the person an addict or not? Was the person an alcoholic or not? Did the person have mental health issues or not? How many days did it take to report the person missing? Who was the last witness who last saw the person? What kind of education did the person have? There's 30 of this criteria, and you will be able to go in and check off any combination you would like. And when you hit the search button, those particular disappearances that meet that criteria will show up. And what I'm hoping from that is messing around with it enough, we'll maybe start to see things about disappearances, things that aren't obvious to the naked eye. Things that even maybe AI cannot pick up. Tendencies, patterns, things like that. That's what I'm hoping. If nothing else, we will be able to determine the percentages for a lot of these things. All right, so we have 370 disappearances. How many of those disappearances involved people who had mental health issues? How many of those disappearances involved people who were drug addicts? How many of those involved people where the reports were done that took longer than a week to be reported? And then you can combine all of that into any search that you want. I think it's going to be pretty fascinating. I've not had a chance. It's not done yet. The Excel spreadsheet that needed to be created is now done, but it needs to be put into whatever program you use to do that. I don't know, but it's something that I have complete confidence in this person. This person is very able-bodied when it comes to computer stuff, is very versed in searchable databases like this, is a guy that I've known for about 12 years now. And even though he's 20 years younger than I am, I have a lot of respect for him. He's very conscientious. I think he's excited about this project. In fact, I brought it up to him a long time ago, and he didn't hesitate at all in saying, yeah, I really like to be a part of that. I think that, I think that I can do what you want regarding all of this. And so he is working on that right now, putting it in a place that will be searchable. Put it in a form that everybody will be able to use it. This isn't going to be something where you need to be a rocket scientist to use it. It's just, I hope, going to be something anybody can go in there and start just pushing buttons and get really creative with whatever they want to search for. So we're getting one step closer to that. And I'm feeling pretty good about it right now. And of course, what we will do next is it'll get tested before it becomes something that people can use. I will have to test it for myself to make sure there's no quirks and everything works the way it's supposed to, that it looks the way it should. And, before we go live with it, as with anything of this type, websites or whatever else, you want to make sure that things work correctly before they go to the masses. I don't really have a name for it or anything. I don't even know how public it's going to be to start out. I want to give certain people a chance to use it for themselves, to offer input on how to use it. Is it user-friendly? People who are familiar with databases and maybe using things like this, I want to get their feedback. So there's going to be quite a bit of feedback done before it goes to the public. But I think that from it, I'm really going to be able to put together some very, very strong disappearance info and statistics that have never been done before. And this was a vision I had many years ago. And here we are in 2025, and it is happening. And so there you go. So it's almost done. Moving on, the Silver Linings podcast. That I was not sure I talked about it, but I'd been interviewed, what was it now, a week and a half ago. It's going to be in two parts. The first talk that I had with Jason regarding Native American disappearances is going to come out on September 23rd. And the second part will come out on September 30th. So it's going to be a month before each of those parts come out. The interview we did was a 2-hour talk about nothing but Native American disappearances. And we discussed 7 or 8 of them. Some of them, a couple of them are already solved, but we still talked about them. But most of the ones we talked about are ones that are still unsolved, and coincidentally also including Leo Wagner's. So be looking for that. I have a couple more live shows to remind you regarding that. Rockford says, as much as we all like Billy, I don't think the Tourism Bureau of Browning, Montana feels the same way after that interview. Well, they should clean their act up. If they did, then more people would have nicer things to say about the area. I've never been to the state of Montana. Very coincidentally, of course, my brother and his wife just went through it. So, I've never been there. I've never been, what states have I never been in? I've never been in Washington. Been to Washington, D.C., but not the state of Washington. Never been in Montana. Never been in the Dakotas. Never been in Iowa. Never been in Nebraska. Never been in Wisconsin. That area of the United States, completely missed it. But I have been in the rest of the United States, the whole way up to Maine and that. And I've been to Hawaii, never been to Alaska. So I think that I'm about maybe 8 states short of seeing all 50 states, something somewhere in that neighborhood, somewhere in there. But I guess, yeah, Rockford, maybe I'll just avoid Browning, Montana. And, of course, we have covered. Of course, Ellen Sloan was from Montana. Do we have Nylene Marshall disappeared? Man, I was meaning to remember that. Nylene Marshall disappeared from Montana. I think Leo Wagner was the 3rd disappearance that we've featured from Montana. All right, let's go on to this story. Oh, by the way, I want to mention the Donna Adelson trial has started. This, of course, goes back over 10 years to the murder of Dan Markell. And now, finally, who a lot of people believe she was really the mastermind of all of this, his ex-mother-in-law is now going to trial. We already know that Dan's ex-wife's brother has gone to jail, and a woman that he knew, and 2 guys that she knew who planned out Dan's murder up there in Tallahassee in 2014. I can't tell you how closely I followed that when it happened. Really, really, really closely followed every little nook and cranny of information that came out. Of course, eventually they charged the people and they were found guilty. Well, now Donna Adelson, Adelson, her trial has just started, and I guess it's maybe on Court TV or something. I've just been reading a regular media article. It doesn't sound like it's starting off very good for her. She allegedly tried to bribe her fellow inmates to lie for her. That's what the prosecution is alleging. Of course, it will be up to the jury to determine whether that is true or not. But we have to remember, maybe some of you forget, that it seems like they were keeping an eye on her, and then they found out that she, I guess, and her husband were headed to Vietnam with one-way tickets. And they caught her or stopped her on the jetway as she was almost going out to the plane. She had gotten to the airport, got through security. They were boarding passengers. She was on the jetway when they stopped her. And she was, I don't think there's a direct flight between Miami and Vietnam. I would be very, very surprised. But eventually the ticket was a connecting flight the whole way to Vietnam. And I'm guessing we don't have an extradition treaty with Vietnam, given the history between our countries. And it was a one-way ticket. And I'm sure that's going to come up in the trial as well. I think we're all now starting to see why Dan Markel and his wife weren't married anymore. It sounds to me like they got divorced because at least her family are a bunch of nutcases and very, very bad people. I don't know what to make of his wife. Did she take part in it too? Did she plan it? She's not been charged with anything yet. And it very well could be they all thought, we'll do her a favor and we'll do this, and we're not going to tell her, and, we'll do this, and maybe somewhere way, 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 way down the road we'll tell her. Certainly possible. But more and more, it's seeming like Donna Adelson was the mastermind of all this, as a lot of people have been thinking for many years, maybe even going back to when the first people were charged. Let me see what everybody is saying about this. Lisa says, hello, Lisa. I'm watching more of Donna Adelson's after this live. It's fascinating. Okay. Hello, CR. How are you? Good to see you. Lisa, they were connecting to Dubai. All right. So flying to Dubai. And then, but I think I'm right. Yeah, they were connecting in Dubai. And then I guess there could be a flight from Dubai to Vietnam. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Amy says, great timing. Yeah, Rockford. Maybe she was a fan of Apocalypse Now. It was going to pull a Colonel Kurtz. The horror. Yeah, I haven't seen that movie for a long time, but for some reason I remember that. I guess what I'm saying is it seems right now that she's probably going to go to jail. All right, have to get to the final thing on the list. What do I mean by missing turned killer? This is a very unusual story. This comes to us from Durham, North Carolina. A teenager who's been missing for the last 2 years. This is a very, very recent story within the last couple days. A teenager who's been missing for the last 2 years has been found, but is now behind bars on murder charges. Gracie Elizabeth Landa, Landa, 18 years old, is being held without bond on charges that she murdered Christopher Perez, 23 years old. Landa disappeared from her home in Tampa, Florida, where I live. Don't remember this story. On June 27th of 2023, so 2 years ago, when she was 16. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children highlighted her case and said at the time that she may have traveled to Durham, North Carolina. According to an arrest warrant reviewed by the News and Observer, investigators said that Perez was sitting in a car with 2 friends on May 30th when 2 or 3 people approached the vehicle and opened fire. At least 40 casings were found at the scene. Perez and the women were there because one of the friends planned to fight another girl in a conflict over a romantic relationship, investigators said. Perez's mother told WNCN that her son had parked his car after delivering for DoorDash when several people came out of the woods shooting. An online fundraiser for the victim describes him as respectful, funny, caring, loving, hardworking, and says he was the first grandchild of 10. Landa is due to return to court for a hearing on September 11th, according to court records. So, what's interesting to me about this story, what's weird about this story is that it seems that this girl was missing, but seemingly wherever she was in North Carolina, she was using her name. It's not like she ran away and changed her name to Jane Doe. On top of that, she was in the area where they thought she went. Yet they still couldn't find her, I guess, because she was considered to be a runaway still here in the Tampa area going back to 2023. And here she is making friends there, even having, I guess she was the motivation for this. She was having a relationship with this guy, took part in the murdering of him, somehow able to get a gun, and nobody could find her. All you can say is, I mean, how hard could they have been looking for her? What's unclear to me is who was she living with down here? Was she with her father and she wanted to go live with her mother? Was she with her mother and she wanted to go live with her father? Was she down here with both of her parents and just decided to run away and they couldn't find her? It seems like she was living quite the life in Durham, North Carolina. And this is what should drive us nuts about disappearances. Is that if we're at the point where teenagers can run off, use their real names, seemingly going to the area that everybody thought that they were going to, and obviously being able to provide for themselves or somebody provide for them and eat and sleep and drink and be merry, then what are we doing? I mean, I don't mean to laugh about it. It's a very serious topic, but you're telling me no one could find this young lady? It's hard to understand. I guess what we're also saying here is that if this is true, if this is signs of a bigger issue with these types of disappearance, I guess we have to be open to the idea that there are many teenagers who've run off, who haven't changed their names and are living lives out there, and nobody is really looking for them, despite Nemec being existing, despite the Q Center existing, despite all of the flyers that have been printed for all of these teenagers who have run away. It very well could be that these teenagers are out there and nobody really, 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 truly is looking for them. Meaning we have these organizations, but these organizations really aren't doing anything. I mean, if you can't catch a teenager who ran off to another city and made new friends or had old friends and was eating and living under their own name and everything else, then you really can't find anybody. I mean, I understand if she was using a fake name, if it wasn't she, it was believed that she went to Durham, North Carolina, but really she went to Denver, Colorado or something, then I think I can understand it. But if you can't find a teenager under these circumstances, I don't know how you find a teenager under any circumstances. I'm guessing that there is more to this story. I'd need to know if I really, really needed to really analyze what was going on here. Of course, I'd need to know what was actually going on here in the Tampa area. Why was she here? Did she grow up here? Did she go to school here? What was going on? Did she get in trouble here and that's why she ran away? I need to know a lot more about what was going on here. And maybe she was originally from the Durham, North Carolina area. Maybe one of her parents or somebody brought her down here and she didn't want to be there and she went back there. Was that then really a runaway? I don't know. But then I'd also need to know more about, well, what was she doing? Now that she's in custody, maybe these things can be discovered. Well, what was she doing in North Carolina? Obviously, I guess hanging around the wrong people. But she was getting food somewhere, and she was getting water somewhere, and she was meeting people somewhere. What were the flaws in the system on that? It's just hard to tell. But this should be very worrisome to anybody who's concerned about disappearances getting solved. Now, here we are. We concentrate on, people who might have been murdered. Maybe they ran off not knowing what they were doing, addictions and everything else. We're worried about finding these people. This type of disappearance should be easy to solve. If you can't solve these ones, then I don't know how you're going to solve the ones where actually there's murder and everything. I have no idea. And I have to then start wondering, do these organizations... I think what I'm saying here is and it's something that I know is going to tick off a lot of people. These people who are involved in these organizations who think they know about disappearances and everything, they don't. They're in the organizations. I'm not saying they don't care, but it's not clear to me that they really know how to solve disappearances as something as clear-cut as something like this. And now, because this young lady wasn't tracked down, now somebody's dead. It's very serious. This is what happens when things slip through the cracks. All right. That was what I meant by missing turned killer. Anything else that I want to touch upon here? I think that is about it for tonight. So let's go to Friday's episode, being that it is the last Friday of August, and all of you maybe have been around long enough to know. Last Friday of August is always another update episode, and so we are going to do update episode number 21, if you can believe it. I can't believe it. Update episode 21. I can understand if it was like update episode number 10. We're on number 21. Unbelievable. Quite a few. Surely not the longest update episode ever. Not even close to that. But I've started recording it today. And I'm more than halfway through it. It's going well. I think you're going to find it very informative. I did count how many podcast updates there were, but I forget the number. And there will be at least 3 Unfound Now updates. And, if you don't know, I do this. I go through, I figure out all of the disappearances from the podcast, 375 disappearances now. Figure out which ones have updates and do those in chronological order as they appeared on Unfound. And then at the end, after that, I go to the Unfound Nows and see if there are any updates for any of those. And so we have 3 of those. And then after that, I do a remembrance part where I read off each and every name of the missing people who have been featured on the podcast. For both the podcast that's been around since September of 2016 and the Unfound Now episodes, the exception being, no, I do not go through the entire passenger list on Flight 370. But everybody else's names get read. And I started doing that from the very first one, I think, because I've kind of felt bad that here these people are getting mentioned because there's updates for their disappearances. But then all these other people don't get mentioned because there's no updates. And it just felt bad to me. So that's why everybody, whether they have an update or not, everybody is included. So that is it for tonight. I got it done. Heather Teague, like I said, I got questions, as it's a very popular saying in true crime community, right? I got questions. Just from a telescope user point of view, There's just something about the witness statement that, I don't know, just not very secure in it. But I did the missing turn killer. I talked about the Martin family. I feel like I have fulfilled all of my obligations. The next time you see me, I will be in this chair, but it will be after coming back from Orlando, being there for 5 days. Hopefully it'll go well over there, both me having a good time over there and maybe the disc golf will go well too. We'll see. But that's all I got. Keep your heads on swivels out there. Do not end up on my podcast. Charlie, I hope you and your sons have a great time with your mother. I think that you'll be seeing Brian and Laureen there too. Probably Mike will come over. And I think my dad said he even wanted to come over. So I'll make sure he knows about everything that's going on. So say hi to everybody for me. Thank you so much. Good to see all of you. Thank you for making time. Give this video a thumbs up to show a thumbs up. Thank you for making time on your Monday night. See ya.